Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here for Season 8 of this pre-season social race 2, or evaluation race 2, as we take in the Mexican Grand Prix from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. My name is James Head. I'm going to be taking you through the stream, as always, on a Saturday night. And joining me in the commentary box is a man who wanted a D1 seat. He's got the plum pickings of being alongside me in the commentary box tonight. It is, of course, Ariel Nolan. Nolan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. They all protected the Division 1 drivers' egos and stopped me from winning the race. So they put me in B2 instead. So I'm going to be commentating.
You are going to be commentating indeed. It's a bit like Season 6 pre-season China. If anybody can remember that, let's tune into the stream. I've got a memory of a save, so I don't know how I've remembered that off the back of the foot anyways. But it looks like we are good to go. It looks like we've got about 10 seconds until the action starts on track. That means, though, we can have a look in the meantime at who's going to be racing in Lobby 1. Now, a few of these drivers have changed from the actual graphic when it got produced, but in Lobby 1, we've got XL Dan, PTR Vettel, who's not racing here tonight, XL Gary, XL Dylan, XL J. Cole, PTR Taneo, who's not racing, Kivor Verstappen, Kivio Maledictus, Ariel Commentalist, and Hyper, and then we've got XL Rocco, Nathan, Joom, Dari, NSX Connor, Nico Cortez, Forza Brendan, Lovell Carr, and Montana, who again is not racing. So 3 at least on that list. Maybe I've missed 1 or 2 that might not be racing, but that is the confirmed lineup, and we'll talk you through, of course, who is going to be getting going in qualifying very soon indeed. But Nolan, just having a look at that lobby as we now transition, of course, to the actual on-track action as we get now into the lobby. How do you see tonight actually happening with these 19 drivers out on track?
Well, from what I've seen of the lobby, I don't think is Connor here. Is Connor in the race?
He is. He's in the Haas.
Yeah. I would expect to see Connor and Justas make this their race, and everyone else fights for third. That's going off practice. Pease, I'm expecting to see Pease probably get lapped this race. He is terrible. I've been trying to get him kicked out of Relentless for a few months now, but unfortunately he's still there. And I hope to God that Gary fails miserably.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, of course. Gary is stepping up from, I think, Lobby 2 last week, if I'm not mistaken. He's now in Lobby 1, and he's just nearly killed his mechanic, actually, coming up the lane, which is not that great at all. Nico was one of the first guys out on track. In fact, it's Connor, the first man out on track. The NSX man. We've got an overlay, by the way, on the bottom right-hand side. That says Division 1 is live, and that is Division 1 live. Here tonight, it is Lobby 1, but it is Connor first man out on track. You fancy his chances? He was quite quick around here last season in Mexico, if I remember rightly, but he might come under pressure, because you were saying Nathan could be a favourite for pole position as well, just judging on straight line speed.
Yeah, Nathan is running what we've been calling all week terrorist wings. And unfortunately for all the drivers, if Nathan can find himself even in the top 10, it would not surprise me if I see him within the top 5 by turn 1, as his straight line speed is outrageous. For pole, from what I've been seeing in practice, Connor and Justas are the only 2 drivers that I've seen touch the 14s in a multiplayer lobby, which is a crazy lap time to get.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, I think, to see, of course, how everyone is going to be getting on. I'm just fiddling about with the audio settings there. Jav saying he couldn't hear you, apparently, unless it's on his side. It might be on your side, Jav. I have turned it up anyways on the audio on OBS. But Connor is the first man out on track, and he's now on the run down in towards turn number 1. In excess of 210 mile an hour sometimes. You can get up to here, down in towards turn 1, and then in towards the chicane, of course, of the left hand of turn number 2, and then to the right hand of turn number 3. As Kivio Cortez has joined the lobby, which is good to see. Got the Z out of his name, actually. It's a little bit different to what we've got on the graphic there. Connor Mill through the first sector, 28.2 in the first sector, already matching what we saw in the first laps last season around here in Mexico. Through the right-hander there of turn number 5, then through the double right of turn number 6, and then in towards what we like to call the SA section. It's literally just S section, translates to in English, and I come through the left hand of turn 7, through the right hander of 8, through 9, and then through the little chicane of turns 10 and 11. And Connor looks absolutely hooked up on this lap, I've got to be honest, as now Connor comes through the middle sector to 56.1 in the middle sector. That is very quick going. He now comes down in towards turn 12 and then in towards Ferrosol. Of course, the baseball stadium section around here at Mexico through 13, 14, then to the left-hander of 15, and then through the double right-hander of Peraltar at 16 and 17. Connor then on the run to the line, and it's a 1:15.3 to start off the night. That is not a bad lap at all to start off the night.
That is an outrageous banker lap. I don't think I've touched one of those even close all practice. So to get that on your banker, his middle sector looked absolutely insane. So it would not surprise me, honestly, if we do see a 14 in qualifying. And if we do, then that's scary to think, because this is just pre-season. Normally people just get better over the first few weeks.
Yeah, definitely so. Connor, 15.3 out on top. Maledictus there, of course, who wasn't actually here last week. He was in, I think, Lobby 2 again. He goes second. P's there in third, just better there by Lovacar, who goes third. He showed very good pace, actually, last week for a majority of the race in pre-season evaluation race 1, which I've totally forgot the track was. I think it was France last week, if I'm not mistaken. But it's Connor out on top, Maledictus second, Lovacar in third. I mean, we're not even 5 minutes through qualifying, Nolan, and Connor's nearly 0.4 of a second clear already.
Yeah, well, I feel bad for the other drivers, because, for instance, if I'm someone like Pease, he's got an 8:05, I'd be very, very happy with that as a banker lap. That's like a really good lap to get on your first lap. And it looks rubbish because Connor's gone and got a 0.3, so it's a big gap. 4 attempts already. Justas has just started his lap, so we can kind of compare the two there. And if he's close to what he's been doing in practice, this could be a scary weekend for the Hasses.
Yeah, let's run and bolt them with the Division 1 champion, Justas, of course, who took that race win in Abu Dhabi, and, of course, took the championship in Abu Dhabi as well. 28.1 in the first sector. Justas coming alive already. He's up on Connor's first sector, even as we now come through the right-hander of turn number 6. There's Connor out on top, Maledictus second, Wolvercar there in third. Packer, by the way, saying in the comments section, Connor will still boss it in qualifying. I have a feeling it's going to be quite hard to beat, I think, that lap of 15.3 at this moment in time. Justas still flying through the SA section of turns 10 and 11, and then in towards Ferrosol, towards turn number 12, and he's quicker again than Connor in the middle sector, about a 10th up on his time. This is going to be extraordinarily close between them both, as now the Lithuanian, the defending champion, comes through turn 13, 14, 15, and then in through the double right-hander of Peraltar at 16 and 17 on the run to the line. Justas, I think, 15.2 maybe for Justas. And he does 15.2, and he goes 2/10 quicker than Connor. Connor has got a rival tonight, and that comes in the form of his teammate.
Those are absolutely crazy lap times, and you see Connor's at very high point for his 2000s into the threes. That's nearly 2 tenths faster, and we thought, like, look at the gap between first and third already. I know it's just there's still a long way to go, but for those to be your opening lap times. And you might be questioning now the strategy of both them drivers picking the Haas. If them two are the only ones near each other, the pit window could become quite interesting, because there's going to have to be some sort of leeway as to who's going to be first on track.
Yeah, definitely so, but Justas out on top. I mean, we're only a third of the way through qualifying, and Justas very quick. Same can't really be said for Kvyat Cortez, though, on a lap as he slides his way out of turn number 5. He got caught in the sausage curb. You know my hatred with sausage curbs these days, and sausage curbs should be eradicated from this game. Cortez not happy with his lap, and he's backed off, and he was at 28.5, and it's even worse, he's now out the session.
Yeah, Cortez joined a bit late, not quite been able to get into grips, should we say, and he is the first person to retire, obviously showing that this time we do have damage on, whereas in France we didn't, so he will be starting at the back. It is an evaluation race, so you will still have a chance to show people his pace. It's not necessarily about where you finish, but you would like to put some laps on the board so people can see your quali pace. So, not the most ideal start for him, as he will be starting at the back now, you'd assume.
Yeah, he will be, I think, indeed. Wuta Rocco, Dari and Doom are still yet to set lap times in so far. Dari currently on a lap in the Aston Martin, another driver who was a part of, I think, Lobby 2 last week, and he's hoping to obviously try and get up towards the top end of the field. Dari, I think, was an F2 driver as well back in the day. 56.6 in the middle sector from IRT Dari's. Now comes through turn 12 and then in toward the Ferrosol section. Beautiful, beautiful camera angle this as we widen ourselves out through turn 14 and 15, then in towards 16 and 17. Justas out on top, Connor in second. Dari's not going to be challenging the top half of the field, I don't think. goes though 9th, ahead of Yulbroom. Not a bad lap at all. Yulbroom normally quite quick around here. Currently 7/10 of a second down on Justas, with Justas out on top. Connor there in second, Maledictus in third, and nearly halfway through qualifying as the main protagonists start on their second lap.
Yeah, you mentioned Connor there. I'm just watching Connor come to the end of his lap, and apparently he's 1/10 up in his lap time, so this should be really interesting. He nailed Sector 2 last time, so let's see whether he lost any time in Sector 3. He's going to come around the last corner now. I think he's going to improve, maybe. No. Oh, big slap on the end there, and he's actually not going to improve.
Oh, no, what? I was going to put in and say he's 3.5 cents up in the middle sector, but I thought I'd eradicate you with the pain there of Connor's lap time through the first sector. But he does go quick as it's a 15 flat. Justas there in second, Maledictus there in third is invalidated. Lolvacar also on a lap now as well. But I think this is just going to be an absolute trade-off between the two Hasses here tonight. Connor and Justas, seemingly Nolan, a class above the field.
Oh, that's what we said from the start. I think these two drivers are going to race for themselves, and then we're going to have a fight for P3 essentially. But we saw the tank slapper that Connor just had coming out of the last corner. That could have been a 14 easily. There's still time to find in that lap, which is crazy to say. And Justas is going to have to respond now. And we tend to see this a bit in qualifying with two drivers. They kind of trade positions, and it might probably come down to the last run and who can hold their nerve the most.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think if time goes by, and time has gone by, of course, in the past here in LOE, Justas normally comes alive on his final few laps here in qualifying, so we'll have to wait and see, of course, what Justas does. Lolvacar, by the way, improved 0.4 of a second and went third, so 15.3 from Lolvacar there as well, but it is Connor out on top, back into the pit lane there, Justas there in second, Lolvacar currently in third, nobody really on a lap, I don't think. Maledictus is on a lap, he's 300s up though. We'll go on board with Justas around halfway through his lap as well, but Maledictus coming through the SA section, currently in fourth, the Portuguese man, ahead of commentated and Izzers, so that is feeding them quite good information, I think, in terms of where he is in terms of the pace, and Maledictus comes through the middle sector, and to 56.2, so he's up there actually in the middle sector.
Yeah, Maledictus has looked quite promising actually so far. I think a good thing for Maledictus is he's always had the pace, he's just had a few mistakes in him. If you can get rid of those mistakes, and I guess with this game, it handles completely differently, so kind of how you were in previous games doesn't carry over to this game. I've seen a lot of people that really struggle this game, which I thought would be able to do quite well, so hopefully this is Mala's year, as Justas was on a good lap, but he just invalidates ever so slightly. I didn't think it was an invalidation, but he just took too much of the white line there.
Yeah, it was through turn number 10, through the little SA kink, or the little SA chicane, as we like to call it, through turns 10 and 11. Just caught on board with that lap there as well, on board with Justas. He was looking quick, and do you know what? He's going to go again. Justas would have set 15.085 with that lap. So, that's anything to go by. He's going for another run. I have a feeling, though, he's going to come back in the pit lane, because his ERS is on 20%.
Yeah, I guess that works two ways. He just wanted to check what lap time he'd have got, and maybe it'll be comforting knowing that would have still put him second anyway. I don't know whether mentally you back off a little bit because you have invalidated it, but that would have a very impressive lap time, but it would have still put him second. So he still has to find a little bit more, and I wouldn't even put it past. We saw the end of Connor's lap. Connor has some time to find as well, so this is going to be really difficult. Look at the pile up as well.
Yeah, it's really close, I think, in between, and looking through, actually, that middle sector. Yeah, Connor, Justas, Lolvacar, all running pretty much in the same breath. In fact, Lolvacar's in the pit lane, that's an Alfa Romeo. I can't see because of my screen at this moment in time, but I think that is Nico on an outlap, if I'm not mistaken, in the Alfa Romeo. But we are 2/3 of the way through qualifying. Connor out on top, Justas in second, Lolvacar there in third, Maledictus in fourth, Commenters currently in fifth. Myself and Relentless Nolan, of course, taking you through the action. Man, who normally goes quite quick around here, XL Rocco on a lap. He's in the Mercedes and runs towards the end of the middle sector, and Rocco in the middle sector, 56.4. So he's around about, well, Commenters is a P's, that sort of area, I would imagine, with this lap, through the Ferrosol at turn number 12, then through the right-hander at 13, and then through into the Peloton at 16 and 17, and Rocco now rounding the final corner on the run to the line. I think it's a 15.6 maybe from Rocco. Ooh, just shy. 15.7, but it goes 7th.
Yeah, not a bad lap time at all. And look at 4th place downwards. It is very, very, very close. And kind of like you said, Lolvacar going under the radar. A 0.3, very, very impressive time. Like, not far off the top two at all. So could be one to look out for. You know, a little sneak under the radar to take a possible P2. But yeah, as far as Rocco goes, anyone could gain a 10th. You'd think in that top group, like the difference between 4th and I'd say 8th place, maybe even 9th, there's not much between it.
Well, here's a man that could challenge Maledictus to the line, and he does challenge Maledictus. He goes 4th, 15.5, and actually bettered there by Wouter, 15.3. So very good lap time there from him. Connor, by the way, is 5 thousandths up in the middle sector. If you want to see him going any quicker on this lap, he is. He's coming through Peraltada at turn 16 and 17, and Connor now on the run to the line with 4.5 minutes to go in the session. On the run to the line, 14.8. Wow. And he now puts a big chasm between himself and Justas.
That is absolutely outrageous. To be able to pull that off in a multiplayer session when it matters as well. I know it's only pre-season, but that is ridiculous. And Justas is fast, but I honestly can't see him getting that. So, Connor, this race, this could be scary. We could see absolute domination. I think Montana's not here this week. I'm not sure what his pace is like, but if this is... I think we've got a few other fast drivers. I think Campbell's quite quick as well, but Connor at the moment is looking scary, at least at Mexico.
Maledictus goes 5th, by the way. Beats Nico to 5th position at the minute. 15.444 is his lap time. Hopefully not going to be calling that number in the rest of the qualifying session with 3.5 minutes to go in this session. Connor, though, out on top. Justas there in second. Wouter there in third. Wouter not on a lap. Just trying to flick through to see if anybody is on a lap. Izzo, the Singaporean, is out on an out lap. Gary also on an out lap. And Jaco also on out laps as well. Dylan and Joom, however, were on laps. Joom has gone for full spin through Peraltada, and that's on the inside of the, I think, the pit lane, on the exit to the entrance to the pit lane. Joom round, lost his front wing, back in the pit lane. And to remind everyone, if you haven't seen it in the Discord, LOE has got damage on tonight. Standard damage on both.
Yeah, and also I just want to point out Dylan being a very naughty boy, cutting the track to get a lap in. Don't think I've not seen you there, Dylan, but I'll be shouting at you later in the party chat. Obviously, in the actual season, if that gets caught happening, you will get probably some penalised points there on your... Is it driving licence that we've got this year? We're doing the same thing again, yeah? So, yeah, cutting the track, probably not ideal, especially at this track. I think I've gone out once with like a minute 10 left, and you can cut so much of the track, you can actually get a lap started in time, so... It does show a lot of this track is so open. Trying to figure out if anyone is on a lap. I think, is that maybe?
Yeah, I think Gary's on a lap in front of him, if I'm not mistaken. The Irishman, of course, Division 2 champion back in the day. And Gary through the first sector, 28.2 in the first sector. I always remember Gary for being crashed into by TTG Noisy in TTML around here. So Gary hopefully doesn't want to get into another tirade with a driver out on track, because otherwise it might end up with a penalty and a slap from the stewards. But Gary's coming through the middle sector, through the SA section at turn 9, and then to the right hand of turn 10, and then to the left hand of turn 11 through the chicane. And Gary's actually looking quite quick through the middle sector, as now the Irishman comes through, and it's 56.4, so he's 1300 up. Gained that time that he lost in the first sector, and now coming in towards the Ferrosol at turns 13, 14 and 15 before entering the Peraltada section at 16 and 17. It's Connor out on top, Justas second, Wouter there in third. I think Connor is going to be dethroned possibly from Justas potentially in this qualifying session. Gary though to the line, 15.7. He goes 9th ahead of commentated, who's also up on his time.
Yeah, not a bad lap from Gary there. Obviously, gets helped with his pay-to-win device in Sector 2, the wheel, giving you an extra second. So I think Gary would be D4 at best without the wheel, personally. So we'll have a look at Gary. Aiden's actually come to the end of his lap, car mentalist. He's quite well known for having a rivalry with Gary. He's going to come around the last corner. See what lap. He's been doing some good lap times in practice, and he's actually going to get quite a good lap. 15.4. From commentated, puts him in the top 6, ahead of Maledictus by a tiny amount, who has retired from the session now, obviously run out of time. So you'd think that's probably going to get him top 10. You'd guarantee that, pretty sure. But look how much people have improved in their last few laps. I think.
Sorry to cut you off, Nolan. Justas has just gone 12,000 behind Connor in second position. My goodness, that was close to going pole position. Sorry to cut you off completely there. Conrad on top, Justas second, Yildirim in third. Pretty much now on the countdown clock in qualifying.
I don't know how them two are pulling out these lap times. Like, Jordan's got a 15.1, and that is incredibly impressive. But two drivers in the 14s in qualifying, and
Ooh.
I just don't know how they've done it.
And Lolvacar's responding in the middle sector as well. 55.9 in the middle sector. Gary has left the session, so hopefully that might not be Irish Wi-Fi kicking the line. He goes 4th and improves 0.2 of a second. We've just dropped out there, I think, with a little bit of lag for a second there. Hopefully we're all back, though. And what we're saying there is Nico going 4th with a 15.3. But it's Conrad on top, Justas 2nd, Yildirim 3rd, Nico 4th, and Lolvacar rounding off the top 5. I think that is pretty much qualifying done, apart from Verstappen, who's on a lap, but he's invalidated, and he runs towards the line. Probably would have got an improvement, Verstappen, actually, and he was 2,000th off his time. In the end, Nathan is not on a run. I think he's 2.5 tenths down, and spins full 360 coming through Paraltado.
Yeah, the wings aren't quite working out for Nathan. I can officially say now, Nathan's practice for this lobby. Half an hour before the race, he was playing Foot Champions on FIFA, so he hasn't put the most practice in, you'd like to say. I don't think he's too optimistic about his Division 1 hopes this season, but I've told you about his wings. Watch him being P10 by turn 1 for all we know.
He probably will. He probably will. You never know in terms of what Nathan can do out on track. But it is Connor out on top, 13 hundredths of a second. The time was actually given back by 1,000th of a second to Justas's perspective. But the top two in absolute class above the rest here in Lobby 1 tonight. Yildirim there in 3rd, Nico there in 4th, Lolvacar there in 5th, Ruta in 6th, 4.5 tenths covering the top 6. Falls Brendan in 7th. Good lap time from him. Good showing by the reigning Division 2 champion. Commentus there in 8th. Maledictus in 9th, and Rocco there ran off the top 10. Then it's Pease, Dari, Gary, Izza, and Dylan ran off the top 15. Verstappen completing the 16 within a second. In 16th position, J. Cole, Nathan, Cortez, and Joom. Cortez and Joom didn't get lap times in the end. But what we will do now, you've already seen the track in question, but we're going to take you through once again at the Mexican Grand Prix track map. 4.3 kilometers length, 2.6 miles, 17 turns. We've already seen it, of course, in qualifying. And Nolan, this is one of the tracks where drivers get it wrong, you're really punished.
Yeah, this is definitely a track, especially with penalties. I don't think you have to be the fastest driver to win here. I think if you're in the midfield, especially, I've seen a lot of times at Mexico, people jump up from 8th to 3rd, just on penalties alone. And the curbs seem to be quite deadly this year, especially the way your setups are. I think if you change the ride height, especially, you can. I think sector 1, those first 3 corners can be very, very different depending on what your setup is. So you could see a few spins, and we were having the discussion earlier about possible underbody damage. It seems to be quite an issue for some people this season. I'm not sure why, but on this game, a lot of people seem to be picking up underbody damage.
Yeah, definitely so. I think underbody damage is, of course, I think part and parcel with the new cars and the new regulations and everything. So obviously something to watch out for. Floor damage as well, obviously brought into the last game. We can, though, go back to the on-track action, and it is going to be, of course, a full 36-lap race here in Mexico. And, of course, with qualifying, it means you can start on whatever tyre choice you want to. That is a new rule, of course, brought in Formula 1. And looks as if Nolan, commentalist, Dylan, Nathan, all going to set of medium compound tyres. Everyone else going for a set of hard. So clearly, those on the hards are going one-stop strategy. Those on a set of mediums, maybe two-stop.
I still think they'll be going one-stop. For nearly every race now, it's been hard, medium, and medium hard. And the hard medium, especially at France, was by far the better strategy. But I'm thinking the grip on this track, it can almost be like an ice rink at times. I'm wondering whether the medium runners, especially car mentalists, will be helping to make up some ground at the beginning and just kind of deal with the hards. The reason why people seem to start on the hards, if you don't know, when you come out of the pits, the warm-up lap, especially in this game, affects you a lot more. So like warming up those hards, for instance, is going to be a lot more difficult than warming up the mediums when you come out. Obviously, car mentalist Dylan and Nathan, they're backing themselves a little bit to warm those hards up as fast as they can. Although it wouldn't surprise me if we do see someone maybe try a medium soft potentially. It'd be risky.
It'll be very risky indeed. I remember Verstappen, I think it was in LOE or TTML, as just as they'd gone for spin, coming through the Ferrosol section, spinning his tyres completely. Verstappen, though, down in 16th position. I remember he took, I think, a real gamble to go on a set of medium compound tyres around here. It was a one-stop strategy underneath the safety car. Safety cars, by the way, not on here tonight. But Verstappen took the mediums 22 laps to the end of the race. And funny enough, he won that race as well. So Verstappen is looking to try and be towards the top end of the field. There's an Alfa Romeo messing up their formation lap, I think, in the background. Somebody's gone for a spin. There's another Alpine going for a spin in the background. But Nolan, I'm going to come across to you. Who's your top three?
I'm going to go for Connor, Eustace, and then I'm going to go Wouter to get third place.
Interesting. Beautiful camera angle, by the way, on the rundown in from the starting gantry here. 5 red lights are now coming on here in Mexico. 4th pre-season race 2, and it is lights out and away we go. And Connor gets a very good start. Justas as well, and Yildirim has got the best start, I think, of all three of them, as well as Ruta, who goes past Nico, and Nico sat still off the start, but Justas leads the way. Yildirim there in second, as they can now cascade their way down towards turn number 1. Connor and Ruta now trying to go all the way around the outside of Yildirim, and Yildirim gets contacted there slightly by Connor, rolls through turn 1 safely, hopefully through the chicane as well, but Justas leads away. Connor in second, and look at how far they've pulled clear, about 9/10 of a second already. It's a full second, in fact, between them. Yildirim and Walter there, 3rd and 4th. Lovercar and falls to Brendan in behind as well, 5th and 6th, and now 3 wide in the background as Pease dives it down the inside line of Nico, and now the Alpine and Carl Mensa is probably raging at this point, being caught up on the curb. Rocco goes around the outside of everyone, around the outside off track, I may add as well, and Rocco goes into 8th. Carl Mensa's dropping down the field. Nico set off the start on that set of hard compounded tyres, and it's now an absolute cluster mess going through in toward the middle sector. Maledictus and Dylan are side by side as well. Everyone somehow is still clean through. I don't think I've seen any damage apart from Spinner in the middle sector, and that's J. Cole that is round. J. Cole is round in the Red Bull, but it is Connor that leads the way. Justas second, Yildirim in third. You need to take over, Nolan. That was a breathless first lap.
That was absolutely chaotic, and it's not stopping now. Nathan's going to go up the inside of Gary, and he makes it stick as well. I'm not sure how people got away with no damage, because that was absolutely insane around the start. Especially just going into like turn 6. I think I saw 4 cars off wide at the track just to make it work, but they did make it work. And a name to point out, Nathan gained 5 positions, Dylan's gained 5, and Pease has gained 4 positions. So a good start by them as Carmentalist, and I think that's, yeah, Pease going side by side. Carmentalist gets the move done, and he's in P7 again. So not a bad start for them. Carmentalist on the medium tyres, probably not made as much ground up as he was hoping, as he now has to catch up to this hard group of runners, and he's already on 50% ERS. So maybe the medium strategy not working out the way he'd have hoped it would.
Yeah, he's having to use it up a lot there in 7th position. Darry's trying to go around the outside of Verstappen in the meantime, 16th and 17th position. Darry pulled back for now. Verstappen there in 16th, Darry there in 17th. But yeah, Commentus, I think, has got a big advantage now. They're all position gains, by the way, at the end of lap 1. Pease, as you said, has gained 3 positions. Dylan has gained 5, and there's an Alpha Tauri going through the middle sector there. That was full to Brendan, I think, who made a mistake and had to take off to the runoff area through the chicane. And that means now Commentus start in 7th as Dylan and Maledictus are swapping positions. I think Nathan has gained both of them.
Nathan gained both of them. Dylan had to back off a little bit because he was going to go into the back of Rocco. I think Rocco didn't have the cleanest of runs. Nathan just kind of just did a Hamilton and went, okay, I'll take on you both, and went straight past them. And we'll keep an eye on Nathan now. Let's see whether he's got those danger wings that we thought he had. He's behind Rocco. I don't think he's got the wings, but look at the straight. He is gaining on him quite a lot. Look at this, it's ridiculous.
Do not rule him out for an overtake down in towards turn number 1, but remember, DRS is not enabled until we get around towards lap 11 and turns 11 and turn 12. Nathan there on the back of Rocco, looking so much quicker. These two are really good friends, by the way. I don't think they're going to be much friends out on track either. But Nathan through the first sector, looking very quick, and he's 2.5 tenths up on his time as well. There's a yellow flag in sector 3, and that's J. Cole that has spun through Peril. Tada's safety car is not on here tonight, so that means J. Cole is out of the race. Damage is paying that price as Pease has lost a position behind Nico as well. And I think Pease, in fact, has maybe got caught up in a bit of contact there with Nico. Nico through and he's into 8th. Rocco there in 9th. Pease in 10th. Not sure what happened to the Ferrari. Did you see what happened to him?
Yeah, I actually just caught on board with him. He was just coming out of turn 7 and 8, and he just seemed to put the power down a bit early and lost the tyres. And that's what we're saying. They're very hard to heat up at the start of the race, and I think they just some drivers really like the hard as a race tyre, and at Mexico, I think I'd be on the fence where they're a little bit more difficult to drive, and I think you just have to kind of nurse them, almost massage the tyres a little bit into the track, and he's not done that, and he's lost 2 positions because of it.
Commentators going side by side with Forza Brendan as well. Brendan decides to back off, I think, down in towards turn number 1. So Commentators through into 6th position. He's doing very well, I've got to say, on that sort of medium compounded size. P's now going side by side as well with Rocco, and Nathan's going around the outside of both of them, now on the inside line for turn number 1. He gets them both again. Nathan through and he's into 9th. Absolutely demon down the straight in terms of straight line speed. And now there's 3 wide in the background because Rocco, P's and Dylan are now going side by side on them up towards turn number 4. 3 into 1 don't work. 2 into 1 doesn't work. Somebody's going to have to back out, and it's P's in the end. And Dylan is through and he's into 10th position. P's there in 11th, but a big old train developing behind the Dutchman as Maledictus and Rocco are now side by side.
Yeah, Maledictus just give Rocco a little bit of a shunt there to get past. I don't think Rocco will be too happy about that. But this is what I'm saying. Nathan's wings are causing chaos in the midfield because every time he storms through, everyone kind of has to make way for him, and it just creates carnage behind him. As Doom, unfortunately, is retired, so we've had 2 people retire. I'm not sure whether that was a crash. I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crash in the edges. That's two times that we've seen someone lose it there, and we saw it in qualifying as well, actually, with Cortez, I believe. So, oh, and there's a little shunt. Darry's gone into the back of Verstappen, and he's spun him round. Cortez has now gone into the back of Darry because of that, and it's all turning out to be a little bit of bumper cars at the back of the field now.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. Verstappen getting caught up in contact once again, like he did last week as well. P's on the back of Dylan in the meantime, running down the straight down in towards turn number 1. P's has hardly got any battery left, 10% of battery left to try and get this group done down in towards turn number 1. And in fact, it's the battle behind that we're missing as Rocco goes all the way around the outside of the Portuguese man of Maledictus, and he gets the job done. So Rocco through and he's into 12th, and now I think P's is going to get the move done maybe on Dylan on the run up towards turn number 4 at the left-hander, but I don't think he's close enough. Try and go for the battle. In the meantime, Maledictus is losing another position potentially as Gary now goes around the outside of him. Now on the inside line for turn number 5. Is right on the back of this as well, the Singaporean. The front 2, by the way, have checked out. Connor leads the way. Justus there in 2nd as Maledictus falls off track there by Gary, and Gary's through and he's into 13th. So Maledictus loses yet another position out on track.
Yeah, Maledictus just kind of stuck to the outside there. I think a lot of people have been doing that a little bit naughtily at times. They stay on the outside, and you can avoid a warning a lot of the times for it, but Gary does get through in the end, and now Mal's going to have to worry about Izzat, who is the next person on the radar, and maybe senses that Maledictus is struggling a little bit. He looked really good at the start, didn't he? And he seems to have dropped down quite a lot.
Yeah, really struggling indeed. Down in 14th position, of course, he qualified, I think, in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Just to clarify on that, yeah, he qualified in 9th, so he's down 5 positions off his starting position at this moment in time. We are now a 6th of the way through the race here in Mexico, and it's this man here, NSX Connor, that does lead the way. From Justus there in 2nd. Front 2 have honestly checked out in terms of their battery, as Pease and Dylan again are going side by side. I think Dylan has made a mistake possibly through turns 1 and 2, and now Rocco is right on the back from XL again, going for civil war between them both, but Rocco does it down the inside line. Nice job there, and he's through, and he's into 12th position on, into 11th position on Dylan.
Yeah, Rocco making it look as easy as a Tottenham Hotspur comeback versus Ajax in the Champions League semi-final. And something to point out with Connor, he has actually broke DRS to Justus, which is quite a big deal because we've seen how fast Justus is, so it's no easy feat to break DRS, and Connor's looking quite comfortable at the moment to keep this. We've got yellow flags and Maledictus is out.
He is. That's coming through turn number 12. It's just slightly on from where Doom had crashed out a few laps before. And that is Maledictus now out of the race. No safety car to try and obviously bring the field back together. And that means, of course, if you're out, you're well and truly out. And unfortunately, in the case of Maledictus, Doom and Jacob, that is absolutely true. This track does prove to be a war of attrition at times, and it is proving that in the early stages here in Mexico. Lolvacar, by the way, applied a lot of pressure to Ruta, 4th and 5th position. Set a hard compound tyres. Commentators has not made the impact as what we thought, certainly in the commentary box. They're in 6th position. He's on that set of mediums, and he's getting gapped by these two as Lolvacar goes into the back of Ruta. So late on the brakes, the Spaniard, and Lolvacar into the back of Ruta, escapes the scene as if he's done nothing wrong. And unfortunately for him, that's going to be 5 points on his licence and a £60 fine.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's picked up some damage from that, really. It didn't look like he did on the screen. I'm not sure if you got a better angle of it. My camera angle for that was quite terrible, but it actually looks like he's got away with it quite scot-free.
He has, yeah. I think Wolvercar, it was just a bit of late braking in towards turn number 12, in towards turn number 4, and then he's just caught the back of Ruta. Couldn't slow down in time. It's just basically bowled into the back of him. Unfortunately for Ruta, he's still in contention. Don't get me wrong, he's only lost 3 positions to Wolvercar, as Wolvercar's very, very sideways out of the final corner. Jake Cole's left the session there, but now Commentated, the Alpine on the back, as Nathan has gone for a spin through Peraltado, I think.
Yeah, and that's the issue with the wings that Nathan was running there. You can't afford to make a mistake on them. Those mediums now, maybe they're already starting to lose their grip. I'm not too sure how good the mediums feel after this long. I'm not certain on the mediums' lifespan at all, really, in this track. But you'd assume they're going to be quite overheated now, and he is, after gaining so many positions, is right back down onto last of the runners that are still there, I guess. And something just to point out, I want to go back when you were saying Wouter with what happened with him. Probably quite a nice sight for Nico, who found himself in a bit of no man's land. He was about 4 seconds in between each group, and now he's kind of got someone that if he can latch onto Wouter's DRS a little bit, if he can find some time, he could maybe drag himself back into this front 8 group.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, Nico is a very quick driver on his day, but is he as quick as Ruta, Brendan, Commentated? That's what we've got to try and obviously decipher. At the moment, he's holding his own. He's 2 seconds off. He's only losing a 10th here, a 10th there. But those 10ths will obviously gain up to around 4 or 5 tenths down the straight, when, of course, these guys ahead are going to be within DRS range, and Commentated is within DRS range, and Wolvercar out the final corner takes a very thin line through the final corner at Peraltada. 40% of EOS. This should be easy for the Alpine, shooting down the straight on the Aston Martin, using the DRS, using the EOS, catching up to 210 mile an hour on the way down the straight, and Wolvercar says, you know what, come through, you can now do the donkey work. Commentated through, and he's into 4th, Wolvercar there in 5th, Forza Brendan in 6th, and I think that'll be a sight for Forza Brendan to see, because that now will encourage him on and pull away from Ruta, which he is doing.
Yeah, I guess we can say at the moment, the mediums look like they were a good choice for Commentated. He has probably not gained as much at the start as we thought he has, but he's up into P4. It will be interesting to see what happens when those mediums start to die and how that affects the rest of the pack behind him. But for now, he's actually pulling away quite decently, and they're probably going to catch the front group. Well, I wouldn't say he's going to catch dual green, but he's going to pull away from this rest of the group behind him. He's having a really good middle section at the moment, and the hards seem to be struggling to keep up.
Yeah, if Commentated though can drag Wolvercar and Forza Brendan along, they will obviously come into play. I think Pease has just made a mistake through the SA section. Dylan's now right on the back of him. Rocco's just overtaken him. Dylan, for good measure, has just picked up a 3-second penalty as well on the back of Pease. The recovering Ferrari there in 10th position. Dylan there in 11th. Then Gary and is at 12th and 13th at this stage. And then you've got a real queue in behind, because Verstappen and Darian Cortez are in a private battle, 14th down to 16th. And then Nathan's all on his lonesome like George Russell in the Williams days, to be honest. But Connor leads the way. Yussos there in 2nd. Yildirim there in 3rd. No disheartening to Nathan there at all. He was a very good driver on his day. He's on a set of mediums, but 3.5 seconds off the pace. That gap is only just going to increase, I think. As Izza, now the Singaporean, is on the back of Gary, down in towards turn number 1. Williams against the Red Bull. The Red Bull goes completely wide. Gary, I think, off to the American border there with that braking. And Izza through, and he's into 12th.
Yeah, they've joined this little train that's been starting to get formed behind Rocco. Rocco on a train in D1 seems to just be something that fits beautifully over the last few seasons, but Rocco, Pease and Dylan, they've not left each other alone all race so far. It just seems to be these three scrapping each other out. The only worry is for Dylan, he is on the medium set of tyres, and if he doesn't get something done, you'd think he's probably going to struggle in the second half of this race.
Yeah, it is all over the back of him, coming through the S section. I mean, the Williams looks very quick. The hards now, I think, beginning to come into play. Compared to the mediums, Gary's hards are certainly coming into play. He's just picked up a 3-second penalty out on track. Connor, by the way, though, we haven't seen the front of the race because there's nothing happening at the front end of the field, apart from Connor now pulling away by 2 seconds over Justas. An absolute brilliant pull away from the Brit on the Lithuanian, on the defending champion Connor, making a stay for the Division 1 title early on. Yildirim there in 3rd. Commentated getting chased down there by Wolvercar in 4th and 5th position. He's looking quite close, and I think we saw actually move further down the field. Was it Dylan ahead of Izza, I'm tempted to say?
Izzat poked his nose in at the hairpin, almost made it cost Dylan quite a bit of time. I don't know what wings Dylan is running, but he did come out of that last corner 9 tenths behind these two. So before the line, he was 9 tenths behind Rocco and Pease. By turn one, he was right up behind them. So I'm not quite sure what wings Dylan's running, but he's gained nearly a second on the guys down that straight, which is mental.
Yeah, of course, DRS will be helping along in the meantime as well down the straight, so that's probably a portion to some of the time gain for the McLaren man. But look at him through the corners, he looks really, really slow. And those mediums are clearly going off now on the McLaren, on the Dutchman's McLaren. And Izza's right on the back of him. He himself was a little bit sketchy coming out the essay section. We've got a spinner in the middle sector, and that is Cortez round. So the QVO man is round the Portuguese man down in 17th now. Nathan now up to 16. Gains ahead. Nathan, by the way, we were saying how he was 3.5 seconds and the gap was going to get away from him. He's just picked up a 3-second penalty and he's now 5 seconds behind the gap between Verstappen and Dari, and they're having their own private battle. Speaking of private battles as well, Lolvicar and Commentalist are about to go at it, I think, down in towards turn 4.
Yeah, Commentalist and Lolvicar, they've been having their own little scrap for a while now, and it's been good to see because it's. Well, I think we're almost at that window now where the hards and the mediums are almost equal in pace. As Dari's actually got past Verstappen. Is that? Yeah, that's just an on-track overtake to turn 1 easy as you like, and Dari's up into P14. And we're getting fights all over the field, which is good to see, but this little midfield group is really starting to pile up behind Pease now.
Yeah, the arm Pease has just overtaken Rocco down in towards turn number 1. I think he got him late on the brakes. Rocco maybe made a mistake in that as well. The Mercedes man down in 10th position. Dylan, Izza, Gary on the back. Dari dragging along Verstappen. Could get onto the back of these guys, all follow each other, especially in the S section in the middle sector. Connor, though, leading the way. Justus in second. Yildirim in third. The tension turns now, though, to Commentalist, especially on those set of medium compounded tyres. Just how many laps can he do on those set of mediums before going for a potential one-stop strategy? Because he's having to defend off Lolvicar down the straight. Spaniard obviously gets close. Not close enough, I don't think, this time around. But Commentalist is having to use those tyres to attack and defend. He's got nobody really to attack in Yildirim. He's got to defend very hard, though, as that Cortez is out of the race, and that's through turn 12 at the Ferrosol.
Yeah, I think everyone seems to just be losing it towards that second half. I don't know if there's overheating issues, maybe. Maybe tyre pressures, I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just people lack of tyre wear, but I think Sector 2 just seems to be catching a lot of people out, and obviously that's the start of Sector 3. It's quite a weird place to lose it, actually.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's down and now the 4th driver out of this race. Maledictus Doom, J. Cole joining them, of course, in that club as well. Back to what we're going on about, though, before Cortez obviously went out the session. Commentalist, 6.5 tenths. He's very good in the middle sector. Lolvicar, though, over him like a hot rash down the straight. Those mediums are surely going to be now overexerting because it looks like Commentalist for the first time is now catching Yildirim.
Yeah, I think Commentalist's pace has actually been really good. We can say it's the mediums all we want, but they won't be feeling too great right now. Commentalist has slowly been closing that gap. Obviously, Yildirim's kind of stuck in no man's land. The other two have kind of driven off. He's kind of got this train behind him just catching him. Once they catch DRS, this is going to be really interesting because Commentalist, you'd think, has to pit soon. Lolvicar is going to have a run. He's not going to be close enough. And then Forza Brendan will actually be looking at Lolvicar thinking, well, he's got no DRS now, maybe I can have a go. So Yildirim might just save Lolvicar from a fight from Forza Brendan behind him.
Yeah, but Lolvicar, I think, maybe going to have a challenger. Commentalist down in towards turn number 4. Turns on his DRS once again. Not close enough this time around, though, but he's applying a lot of pressure, and that was proven by Commentalist missing the apex there through turn number 4. He's over him like a hot rash, and Forza Brendan behind. You know what we like to see between Brendan and Commentalist. These two had very good fights last season in Division 2. Forza Brendan on the back. Yes, he's got a penalty, and in fact, we'll get towards the halfway stage. We'll run you through the penalties now. Forza, 3 seconds. Brendan, 3 seconds. Pease on 3 seconds. Commentalist has just picked up 1 as well, so we'll now go in reverse order. Commentalist, 3 seconds. Forza Brendan, Pease, Rocco, Dylan, Gary, Verstappen, and Nathan all on 3 seconds. As now Pease has picked up another 1, and that means he's on 6 seconds now, as Gary has overtaken Izza, who I think has had a moment through the essay section.
Yeah, you were saying about the penalties. Mexico and France, 2 pre-season races, both very well known for penalties on this game. So we'll play a little game with you now. We're on lap 15, over half the grid has penalties. how many drivers do you think will finish this race penalty-free? Because at the moment, everybody's falling down the track and at least picking up one.
I'd honestly say about 4 or 5. I'm being very conservative on that 4 or 5, but yeah, normally you don't get many picking up a penalty, or staying penalty-free, I should say, in this race. Lovacar, though, is currently penalty-free, still on the back of comments list and still not close enough. It's almost as if he's just waiting, being too cautious, and not wanting to attack the man in front. This is Formula 1, it's not Dodgems. You're not going to overtake somebody in the Dodgem ring. But Lovacar on the back of Carmentless, he's all over the back of him. If I was a Spaniard, I'd probably go for the overtake and then go for the overcut in terms of my strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Lovacar is on 78%, so he could have used it if he wanted to. I wonder whether he's just waiting for Carmentless to pit, but surely you'd be looking like you want someone to big after a podium, and Gilbream's not looking incredibly quick right now. You'd wonder why he's not thinking of chasing after Gilbream.
Yeah, but look at the time now that Carmentless actually lost to Yildirim. Mediums are beginning to really go off. Oh, as he snaps through the final corner. Surely him in the pit lane. There's Carmentless in the pit lane. Lovacar gets a bit of free DRS there as well to try and catch on Yildirim. And that is going to suit him very well indeed, because he'll catch around 0.5 of a second down the straight in terms of this DRS gain. So Lovacar there in 4th, Forza Brennan there in 5th. Carmentless though into the pit lane. First driver onto a Hard compounded tyres. How cold will these tyres be at the exit of the pit lane? I'll tell you now, they'll probably be very cold, especially down in towards turn number 1. He's got, though, the actual straight to try and go down. Gary and Dylan, in the meantime, at the bottom of the straight, are going side by side, and Gary gets the move done on Dylan, so he's through and he's into 10th position. Dylan there in 11th. He's still fighting on the McLaren. He wants to try and keep on the back of the Irishman, but Gary there is into 10th. Dylan there in 11th, and now that means Dylan's tyres are definitely going. Locks up in towards turn number 4 as well, and that's not going to suit him well, especially if he wants to try and go further than what Commentless manages. Commentless has lost 2 seconds to Verstappen underneath him coming out of the pit lane on those cold hards.
Yeah, and what we were saying before about Carmentless pitting, already Gilbream has been caught. I don't know if he's made a mistake, but Lovacar's almost within DRS of him. And also what we mentioned before with Brendan, there's no longer a car to hold up Lovacar. Brendan is now falling back out of DRS from Lovacar now. So this could be Lovacar versus Gilbream for a podium position in the race, depending on how well Carmentless has handled this outlap, which could not have been easy on those hard tyres.
And Brendan's now into the pit lane on a set of medium compounded tyres, so he's the first one to pit in on a set of mediums. Interestingly, going around the sort of 22 lap range as I was thinking they might, and Brendan there will manage 19 laps on that set of medium compounded tyres. But look where he's came out. That overcut is so potent around any track here on the Formula 1 game. Forza Brendan, who was a second behind, in fact I think he was 2 seconds behind Commentless at times, and now he's going to be ahead of him, and his tyres are going to be a lot fresher. Commentless has got absolutely no chance now to catch back up.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before, the risk, that's why so many people are starting on the hards. That outlap on the hards, you lose so much time trying to warm them up, but look at how much Carmentless is closing on Brendan, because Brendan still has to warm those mediums up. It's a new thing in this game this year where it's very vital to pick. You have to consider your outlap because you lose so much time, but he will be able to warm up those mediums faster than Carmentless warmed up those hards. And I think we're going to see, this could be a prime example of how many people are going to start on the hards in most of these races, because the hard tyres just seem so difficult to warm up on that outlap.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, he's within a second Commentless on the back of Brendan. Nathan picks up another penalty as well. He's just out of DRS range, and that is just Brendan in that final couple of corners. The traction came absolutely key there, and he's now put Commentless without DRS and out of slipstream range as well to try and gain down the straight. So Commentless there, 13th position. He's going to really struggle to gain, I think, any positions now in this race. Of course, overcut is going to work to an extent. Just how much it will work to an extent, though, remains to be seen. We are halfway through in League of Europe Lobby 1 tonight. It is myself and Relentless Nolan taking to the action, of course. Connor leading the way. 3.5 seconds now. The gap over just Justas, and Justas now looks completely and utterly flummoxed into what to do in terms of the leader. Connor has just looked absolutely imperious at this stage.
Yeah, what do you think if you're Justas? Because obviously, we know Justas he'll know how fast he is.
Oh.
He'll be thinking, what more do I have to do to keep up with Connor? I'm 3.5 seconds down, and my pace has been really, really good. So it must be quite a tough situation to be in, where he's almost getting punished for not having other drivers near him that fast, because he just kind of has to drive on his own and just watch this driver drive away from him, essentially.
Yeah, and all these guys as well, on the set of hards, all the set of hard compounded tyres, they're all continuing on. I think maybe into the set of soft compounded tyres. I really do think that the softs could now come into play for especially the leaders, especially Yildirim, Ulvakar, Wuta. If I was Yildirim and Ulvakar, I'd be looking to come in maybe in the next 2 or 3 laps or so, and then put on the set of softs, try and get those tyres at the end of the race. I know they can do, on the old game, they could do, I think, 12, 13 laps at least. So maybe the time now for them to come in. Izza, by the way, all over the back of Dylan. Now the relentless man on the back of the Excel man, running down in towards turn number 4. But Izza is not going to be close enough. These two have got very good respect for each other, by the way. But they need to now either battle, or one of them needs to get past each other. Izza probably going to do that more than anything, because Brendan closing in very quickly indeed. He's gained 0.3 of a second just through that series of corners.
Yeah, that penalty by Yildirim completely opens up the fight for the podium, because Ulvakar had a podium before. Yildirim could have kind of sat with him. Now this is very much an on-track fight for P3 as it stands. Obviously, we know Brendan and Carmentus are going to be in that fight somewhere. We're just not too certain where that'll be, and that brings the question I was going to ask you before. We've seen how much Carmentus tires.
Sorry to cut you off. As Izza's gone past on Dylan, we've got footsteps as well. Ulvakar, oh, and Izza's round. Izza has either spun or he's been hit by Dylan up the rear end there, and Izza has spun through. He got overtaken by Dylan, and Dylan's now waiting up. So Dylan, the obvious party involved in that, waiting up for Izza. Izza is still going out on track, luckily, and I think Dylan's going to do the decent thing. Maybe let him back through on this lap at some point. Nathan, by the way, and Nico are side by side. In fact, it's actually Nathan and Izza. Nico and Darius side by side as well, down in towards turn number 1. And they're just about getting on top of each other. So Darius through into 12th, still yet to come in the pit lane. However, Nico down 13th on that set of medium compounded tyres. Nathan also through on Dylan, and Dylan is running through Izza, and that is what we like to see. Good sportsmanship already in the pre-season races. That was an that was obviously first round of the season race. I think there might have been a penalty in that, but not the case. And Nico's down the inside of turn number 6 on Dari, and doesn't get the move done.
No, he doesn't, and that's, yeah, we do like to see that from Dylan. It weren't nothing too malicious. He just hit the back of him, and we know what the traction's like out of that corner anyway. So any slight tap, and it's going to send your car, make it very unstable. But what I wanted to say to you before is, as Yildirim actually comes in for the mediums and Walter goes into P3, we'll see what his outlap is like. Do we think Brendan may have bit the bullet a little bit too early? We saw Carmentus is very good on his tyres, and he was really struggling by the time he came in, and he had only done 17, 16 laps on them.
Yeah, I think Brendan honestly has bit the bullet here. He's on full lap all mediums. Yes, they're going to be warmer now in terms of the race. Yildirim, though, is going to hold up Ulvakar. This is a huge opportunity now for Brendan. He's going to be holding up at least half a lap. Ulvakar and Brendan are now going to go side by side. Ulvakar and Yildirim are going to go side by side. Ulvakar is through, and he's into 5th. Yildirim now, though, he's going to hold up Brendan, and Brendan is now going to lose maybe a second, I would say, to Ulvakar through this section on the track, and Phil's tyres do not come online in through these next couple of corners. Forza Brendan has had it in terms of his potential podium positions gains, and look, he has lost now a second to Ulvakar, all because Yildirim, who was in 3rd, has came out the pit lane ahead of him, and is still not warmed up in terms of his tyres, because Brendan is all over the back of him coming through the S section, and now the Irishman on the back of the German pulls to the inside line, and the Irishman should get this job done in toward the Ferrosol. Yildirim, though, hangs it around the outside, to be fair, now in toward the Ferrosol, in towards the baseball stadium section. Brendan tries to go all the way around the outside, and he has to take across the escape road, and Yildirim holds on to the position. That was a bit of a show off the track there from Yildirim, but all's fair in love and war, and to be honest, Brendan should have backed out the move, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too... I think the one thing for me is Yildirim was off track. At that point, you're gaining an advantage. I feel like he should have backed out after he went off track, because he had a better run when he came back on. Interestingly, it was just a fight for DRS at that point, and Carmentus now will be looking at this thinking, I probably should have started on the hard tyres, because he should be in this group. He should be right near the front of it, and he's so far behind the rest of the group now. They've had a fight, and he's still not really gained much time with them. So he's on older tires. Well, no, well, yeah, he's on older tires and a worse compound of tire as well. So I think his next aim will be trying to hold back Walter, who's on his outlap on the mediums. He's gonna have to warm them up, and then he will be on the charge for P6.
Yeah, I think honestly he's got to get within that second range once again. Those guys on the set of mediums though are only going to pull away. Brendan, he's on a lap fresher tyres. They're going to be more worn towards the end of the race, and I think that's what Commentless is actually banking on in terms of this race tonight. But we'll have to wait and see, because of course the top two are still yet to come in, and they're still absolutely miles clear. Connor leads the way, 3.2 seconds. Justas has now begun to bridge down the gap. However, all of the guys in the set of mediums are now beginning to catch. 17.9 from Lovercar, fastest lap of the race. He's there in third. Yilbrim there in fourth. Brendan there in fifth. Commentus there in sixth. Wouter, by the way, came out the pit lane in seventh ahead of Nico, so good job from him. Nathan next still continuing on in ninth. He's now committed to that set of soft compounder tyres towards the end of the race and being a lot quicker than everyone else. Dylan there in 10th, and then it's Pease, Rocco, Gary, Verstappen, Darry, and then Izza down there in 16th position, obviously after that collision with Dylan a little bit earlier on. But, Nolan, I'm going to now pose the question to you. Connor and Justas, when do they decide to come in? Surely it's got to be in the next couple of laps for softs.
Yeah, I'd assume... I think with the soft, they're so poor on this game. I'd assume probably Justas might stay out, because he has the penalty. So Justas will stay out. Obviously, he has to because of the Hasses. I feel like Justas kind of has to go for the hard to soft and hope, because he has the penalty anyway, so his only hope is to hope those softs give him insane pace, I guess. Because they're not fighting for anything anyway. He's guaranteed second unless he spins, of course, so I think Justas could be the one to maybe go for the softs.
Yeah, maybe goes for the softs indeed. Connor's gone set of mediums, and look at how far he is clear of Lovercar. Coming out of the pit lane, he's just trying to get a bit of extra weave to try and get those tyres up to temperature in as soon as possible. However, though, this is Connor's most dangerous point in this race. He's got very cold tyres. Justas is just going to pull away from him on this lap, and until that point, Connor will not gain in terms of the time, as Dylan is into the pit lane from his stop. He's down at the back of the field, I think, when he comes out the pit lane. But Connor now 18 seconds behind. Justas has gained a good 0.6 of a second, I think, coming out the pit lane. Connor now, though, has now started to get those tyres up to temperature, and you will tell this in the middle sector. If he gains here, Connor has got his tyres up to temperature. And I think he has, 17.7, 17.6. Yep, gap's coming down, and Connor has already got those tyres up to temperature, as Justas is still continuing on that set of hard compounder tyres. He's absolutely convinced going for a set of soft compounder tyres is the way to go. They've got to get up to temperature a lot quicker. Will they get to the end? As Dylan might just prove that point. He's on a set of softs, and he's at the back of the field.
Yeah, I think Dylan can kind of be Justas' little tester here, and we'll see what Dylan's pace is like. For the next couple of laps. He'll still have to warm them up, but they should be fine come the next lap. And something to point out for anyone watching, when the season starts, we will actually be having a safety car on, and you'd assume in that situation, Walter would be begging for one if this was an actual race in the season, because he'd be in a great position right now. Only him, Connor, Darry, and Izza are the only people that have not picked up a penalty. So your prediction of 4 to 5 is still intact for the moment, but there are still another 9 laps to go just yet.
I dare not check the race director and see how many warnings everyone's got in terms of those that haven't picked up penalties so far, but it's Justas out on top. Connor there in second. Connor, by the way, has gained a 1.5 seconds compared to where we mentioned at this point last time around. Connor was 18 seconds behind. He's now 16.3. 16.2 coming through the S section as Yilbrim has picked up another penalty out on track. Surely this is Justas' time now to come in the pit lane. It has to be. He has to come in this lap, and he doesn't. He stays out another lap. He's absolutely convinced he wants to get those set of softs to the end of the race. But Connor there, in second, is only going to gain and gain and gain that time. And it's proving to be, I think, Connor's now crowning glory here in pre-season evaluation race 2. Justas, Connor, for the race win. Connor just bangs in the new fastest lap of the race and says, you know what, I've got you 2.5 seconds. You better come in the pit lane soon.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Justas now, it's almost guaranteed at this point Connor has beat him to the win. If Justas wants to do this hard to soft, he's putting himself in an unnecessary fight with Lovercar, you'd assume. Like, they're not going to be too far off him. he will have to warm those softs up. They are going to be mental by the time he gets them up and going, but I feel like he should just secure second at the moment and put in the mediums. Obviously, you don't want to secure second as a driver. You want to be going for first, but first looks like it's gone out the window, and if he carries on staying out of these hard, he is getting caught by third and fourth.
Yeah, he is indeed. Rocco catching Gary on the run down and towards turn number 1. Gary, I think, got DRS though off Nathan, who came in the pit lane. He's also going set of soft compounder tyres. Somebody, by the way, didn't do their maths right, I think, in terms of the laps that we've got left. This chicken has just came into the comment section and said he got it wrong. Apparently, it's lap 25 out of 36 and there's 9 laps remaining. Yeah, I don't think Jack here, his maths was his subject, I think, to be honest, at school. But there we go.
We are lagging. There's 9 laps remaining now. There's just a delay on Funky Chicken's stream. that is all. As we have just seen cause a Brendan disconnect, by the way, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he can get back in, but he's currently sat in P5.
Dylan and Nathan having a fight out for the wooden spoon at this stage, right at the back of the field, 15th and 16th position, and Dylan is through and he's into 15th. Nathan on those cold tyres, cannot get up to temperature. That's going to be a really good fight though, towards the end of the race, I think, between them both. And the prediction of me saying 4 or 5 potentially not picking up penalties has now gone because Darry has picked up now a 3-second penalty. So thanks, Darry, you ruined everything, and now everything is going to be apportioned to blame to you here tonight on Lobby 1. Yossas still leading the way, Connor in second, and Connor is taking out chunks of time on Yossas. He's gained another 3 seconds in the last 2 laps.
Oh, as Nathan takes out Dylan in your little last place battle, stops for him, lets him carry on. These two drivers, I think they've given up at this stage. We all knew Dylan was absolutely terrible at this game anyway, so we're all good there. But you were talking about Justas. Lubakar and Julebream are now actually in his pit window. They're ahead of him at the moment on track as Justas comes in. So we're going to see what happens here. I think they're going to come out ahead of him.
I think, yeah, Lulvacar will, I think Yilbream will, and I think he's going to be in a bit of no man's land, but advantage is, set of soft compounder tyres going on the car. Lulvacar is coming out the final corner at Peraltada. Yilbream is there. This is going to be actually very close coming out the pit lane. Yusas might just sneak ahead of these guys coming out the pit lane exit. Lulvacar, though, is going to have the gain down the straight, and I think, you know what, Yusas is going to be ahead here. Just about 9 seconds the gap. That gap will obviously extend when Lulvacar and Yilbream, of course, catch up. And yeah, they've got fresher tyres, so Lulvacar and Yilbream are obviously going to gain. Rooter and Commentated having a battle down and towards turn number 1, as well as there's the yellow flag in sector 3, and that is a Mercedes round. I think that's Rocco that's round. He's just lost position to Verstappen, and Yossas is trying to desperately warm up those softs. Lulvacar, though, not close enough to get a move done, and he's still on the back of him coming through the middle sector.
Yeah, and you've got to think, probably now, Justas is going to have those tyres warmed up by the end of the lap, so he should be safe for a P2. Maybe it left it a little bit closer than he needed to. Is Brendan back in? Brendan is back in, yeah. I was going to say, his AI has picked up a penalty, which is strange, but yeah, Brendan has got back in control of his car, which is good to see, and... well, maybe not.
Oh, dear. Well, we saw that on the stream as well, unfortunately. That is Brendan, man. We shouldn't laugh. Brendan got caught on the curb on the right-hand side of turn number 7, and that is him round through, and Brendan now down in 8th position. No front wing on the car. He'd be wanting the safety car at this point. He might be causing the safety car, though, if that was one, potentially. Yossastano has gained a second over Lulvacar, and look at the amount of battery he's having to use up down the straight as well. 17% he's got left, Lulvacar on 20%, Yilbream's on 6%, so they're all using up their battery just to stay within touch of each other. Justas, though, I'm going to now put you in this perspective, Nolan. 9.2 seconds. We've got 7.5 laps to go. Can Justas catch Connor before the end of this race? I think maybe so.
I honestly don't think he will. I think those softs this year seem to die so quick. Nearly every track I've done, those softs have been gone within 5 or 6 laps. And I think the pace that Connor has, maybe other drivers, there's a chance. But Connor, he was setting...
Oh, we've lost you for a second. We've lost Nolan, I think. I'm not sure if the stream's still going. Hopefully it is. Connor leading the way. Justas in second. Lulvacar there in 3rd. Not sure what has happened there. Oh, are you back?
Yeah, so my grandfather decided to ring halfway through commentary, which is nice.
Absolutely typical. But there we are. Justas still in 2nd position. We were saying that 8.7 seconds the gap. Yeah. you were mentioning Celesofts go off quite early in terms of their tyre life around here. And I think that's going to be proven into perspective because the guys on the sort of mediums, Wolvercar and Yildirim, they're going to lose time, but they're now going to have a battle for third position out on track potentially. And Yildirim on the back of him. No, and Yildirim will probably go final lap of the race on the back of Wolvercar for this battle. I stand to be corrected though if he tries to go down in towards turn number 4 on him. Connor leads the way though, Justas second, Wolvercar in third. Yildirim there in fourth, and it's through to commentators Nico Pease, Gary Verstappen, Rocco Izza, Dari, Forza Brennan who's out of the pit lane there in 14th, Nathan and Dylan. The 16 drivers still continuing on, which is very good to see. And actually, speaking of which, nobody has actually retired in the pit lane. All of them have been human-enforced errors out on track in terms of crashes.
Well, that is the effect that the almighty Larkin and his banhammer has struck on everybody. The fear that he has put into everybody's souls. We saw what happened at the end of last week's races. An absolute fest of kicks. So I think everyone is scared of Larkin now. And rightfully so. We don't want to see retirements in the pit, especially in the evaluations when the whole point is to see how fast people are.
Yeah, definitely so. I think it was last week, obviously, in France, we had a few retirements in the pit lane. Now with the damage being on, I think that's certainly carved some of that out at least, and hopefully is going to carve some more battles out on track as well, with Yildirim on the back of Wolvercar running down the straight. Here comes the German on the back of the Aston Martin, and do you know what? He backs off down in towards turn number 1. We should know these guys better by now, but I really don't. Yildirim on the back of Wolvercar, still third and fourth position, the closest battle out on track. Nothing really happening further down the field or further up the field. Justas on that Telesoft compounder tyres has only gained, what, a second in the last 3 laps or so? Those softs are not coming online. Connor has nailed the strategy completely, and he's going to win by an absolute street.
Yeah, unfortunately, the softs seem to be so irrelevant this year. It's a shame. I wonder whether they'll change that at any point, but nearly every track we've done, the softs seem to go off within 3-4 laps. It's a bit crazy, but unfortunately they don't seem to be viable at the moment. He has still secured second, which realistically is probably where he was finishing anyway. We saw just how dominant Connor's been, and Justas with that penalty as well was never going to help him, so it was probably worth a test. He'll know now for the season. If there's ever a time to test it, it would be now, I guess. So it's probably done more good for him in the long run. Interestingly, though, the fight for third is still on for a podium spot. Yildirim all over the back of Wolvercar here and just waiting to make his move, I guess.
And maybe it is going to be his move, but he was this close around last time around. Now Yildirim's going to absolutely sail on by. He's going to go for this, and he's going to provide us with a bit of action. Yildirim sails past Wolvercar as if he's not even there down the straight in towards turn number 1, and Yildirim gets the job done. On the brakes, he's through, and he's into third position. Wolvercar there down in fourth. Penalties, by the way, are on the left-hand side of your screen next to the driver's name. Nico chasing down Commentatus down in towards turn number 1 as well. The Spaniard on the Brit gets the job done in towards turn number 1, so the Alfa Romeo passes the Alpine very nicely indeed, and the QVR man overtakes the relentless man. Oh, how that one might go down well later on, but Nico through, and he's into Commentatus there in 7th. He's still sticking in there, is the Alpine. He's not on the back, as the penalties are Justas on 3 seconds, Yildirim on 6, Wolvercar on 3, Nico Commentatus on 3, Pease on 9, Gary on 6, Verstappen on 6, Rocco on 9, then Dari on 3, Forza Brendan on 9. Don't know how Nathan's got 18 seconds worth of penalties down on 15, and Dylan there is on 9 seconds worth of penalties, as Justas now is losing time to Connor.
Yeah, he's slowly starting to lose time to him. Connor, I think those softs are probably going to have gone by this point. Connor has just been dominant this whole race, and we talk about people as Gary now picks up another penalty, and that puts him on 9 seconds. So him and Pease are now on the same. They're not going to be too far from each other. We're on about the fight for P3 before. Yildirim's on 6 seconds, so he kind of needs Wolvercar to pick up a penalty. As long as Wolvercar keeps it clean, he should be on for a podium. One thing I wanted to bring up, you've been on Division 1 comms for quite a while now, so you'll understand the pain of what is known as a D1 DRS train. How refreshing is it now to just see gaps actually in the field? This game seems to have created gaps in the field for the first time in forever in a D1 lobby.
It's really good to see, to be honest. I mean, obviously if we didn't have the contact that we had on lap 1 and the absolute chaos that unfolded on that lap 1, we probably would have had a bigger DRS train than actually necessary. But with these new cars, with these new regulations, I think it's like a breath of fresh air, to be honest, in terms of seeing, because I've been doing Division 1, if you don't know, 7 seasons now. I'm part of the furniture well and truly here in League of Europe. But that doesn't mean to say, obviously with the new cars and the new regulations, I think it's an absolute breath of fresh air. In terms of what we're seeing out on track, we're seeing battles up and down the field. Yes, they're getting spaced out. That, I think, is just going to be at time. We're still only 3-4 weeks into the infancy of the game cycle, so everyone is going to get closer as time goes by. Therefore, we're probably going to get more battles, and therefore, dare I say it, we're going to get more DRS trends. But I think it's a breath of fresh air, certainly in this race at least.
Yeah, and I also think it's like a double-edged sword. So we're getting, I'd say, more rewarding results, like the people that deserve it, because they've got rid of the qualifying tyre selection. Everyone starts on the same tyres. Safety cars, they can still change the game depending on when you pit, but we've seen a lot of times it was almost people you didn't want to qualify 5th, you'd rather qualify 11th. That's kind of gone now, and the people that have qualified high up kind of get their advantage back. But in the other side of things, it does kind of take away from the excitement a little bit, because we don't see as many people coming through the field as what we would do before. But I think overall, it's nice to see people qualifying well, actually getting rewarded for it, as Jules Bream picks up another penalty and kind of secures 3rd place for Wolvercar in this race.
Yeah, definitely so. Wolvercar, of course, has to pick up more penalties if needs be, and I don't think he probably will towards the end of the race. We have got a bit of a DRS train, though, forming 12th, 13th, and 14th. It is Izza, Darry, and Forza Brendan, who somehow is down in 14th position after that spin, after his AI, of course, disconnecting him out of the race as well. It's been an absolute nightmare for the Irishman in this race. Showed good pace, though, in the early stages, showed that he's got the will to try and fight with some of the top guys, of course, in Division 1, who've been here 2, 3, 4 seasons sometimes. And now Brendan's going to put that to absolute perspective, because Darry, newbie to Lobby 1 here tonight, on the back, under pressure now from Forza Brendan, and Brendan into the Ferrasol is putting them under all sorts of pressure. The IRC man is under pressure from the Irishman, and of course with the Williams of Izza in front, perhaps we're going to get a 3 wide down the straight here, but Izza pulls away through the final corner. Brendan, though, is he going to gain the time? He's got 14% of EOS coming out the final corner. Look at the slipstream gain that the Irishman is going to try and gain down in towards turn number 1. He pulls alongside Darry. There's a little bit of wheel banging down the straight between them both. The Aston Martin and the AlphaTauri still wheel banging down into the braking zone at turn number 1. Brendan surely on the tyres has got this, but Izza, Darry's still trying to fight it off, and Brendan, for the 3rd time in this race, has to take the escape rod, and Darry is through and he's into 13th. Plenty of wagging fingers, I think, there, and certainly a one at the Brendan Lee playbook, I think, for Brendan as we go on to the final lap of the race.
Yeah, Brendan's getting into it with a lot of people at the moment, and I'm not sure who's at fault for that one. I don't know how the wheel banging started. It looked like Brendan had a clear run. I'm not sure why he stuck it so tight to Darry, and Darry seemed to just say, all right, if you want to play it that way, you're going to have no space going into turn 3. That's just gone completely off track in the S's. Had to somehow throw it back, just parked his car back in front of Darry, and we are seeing 3 wide at the moment. As Brendan backs out of it, Darry goes up in front of Izza, and now they're side by side. This is unreal at the back. It
is really unreal at the back. Forza Brendan on the back of Izza and Darry. Darry through and he's into 12th on Izza. But this man here, Connor, is hunting down, obviously, the lap cars of Dylan and Nathan, potentially. And Connor is through into the final couple of corners. Through the middle sector for the final time. He has looked absolutely imperious in qualifying in this race. It is going to be, I think, a clean sweep, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of what we're going to be seeing. Fastest lap also going his way at this stage as well. Connor around the final corners at Peraltada. He's took a very imperious win. Is this the sign of things to come in Division 1? Connor takes the win in Mexico. Yostas around the final corner to finish in 2nd, and he's looked absolutely deflated, I think, in terms of his result in the end. You'll be there pulling away from Wolvercar in the end in 3rd and 4th. We'll get back to the battle with Brendan and Darry as that Commentatus. Wouter has actually run out of fuel, I think. He has. Wouter's run out of fuel, and Commentatus is attacking Nico around the outside through the Ferrasol. Now on the inside line for 14 and 15. This is going to be an absolute insane battle in towards Peraltada. Like Gary and Noisy back in the day, and Commentatus sent for a spin. Shouldn't have risked that, and Nico comes across the line to finish in 5th. Wouter, I think, is going to gain maybe in terms of the penalties. No, he's 900ths of a second off of Nico there in 5th. And Gary and Commentatus now. Commentatus with no front wing as well. He gets 7th in the end. He's there in 8th, Gary in 9th, Verstappen in 10th, and still that battle rages on further down the field. What have we just seen, though, in Mexico? Connor with an imperious win, Yostas in 2nd, Wolvercar in 3rd as the final drivers now come across the line. We'll wait for Nathan, of course, to come across the line as well. But Connor takes the win. Justas second, Lulvercourt in third. That was an absolute mad one on the final lap.
Yeah, everything just seems to go down on the final lap. We had a fight for what would be 1 point for the 12th place position. We had a fight for the top 5 there with everyone. I think Carmentos ended up in a wall twice by the end of that somehow. And Walter running out of fuel just caused absolute chaos. Everyone seemed to realise that there's a position up for grabs.
Yeah, there was indeed, and I think it just came. I know it's evaluation, but still, go on, you've got to keep it clean, guys. Certainly, the guys know better than what we are going to be seeing. Hopefully next week, and we'll run through the calendar, of course, as we go into the end of this live stream. But rounding off the podium positions, of course, the first man to take the top step of the podium is NSX Connor, and Connor showed an absolute representation there of his pace. He looked very quick last season around here in Mexico. Now proven on that, we're going to cut to the driver interviews because the podium interviews at the podium places are still flashing, unfortunately. But Connor has done the Grand Slam at his pole position, fastest lap, and the race win for the Brit. And it's a Haas 1-2 as well. Is that a sign of things to come potentially if those two pair up this season in Division 1? We'll have to wait and see during the week. Lulvercourt there in third impressed me in terms of his pace. He looks an absolute natural, I think, in terms of Division 1 this season potentially, and I'd love to see him, of course, putting up there with the top guys. You'll be there in fourth, Nico in fifth, Ruta there in sixth, Commentated in seventh, Pease in eighth, Gary in ninth, Verstappen in 10th, ran off the top 10, and then the point scoring positions, what would be, of course, next week, Izza and Dari pick up the final point scoring positions. Rocco, Brendan, Nathan all finish along with Dylan, who was a lap down in 16th. Cortez, Maledictus, the two Portuguese, along with Jume and J. Paul, all out of the race at the end. But Connor, Justas, Lulvercourt, top 3. That was a very good race in Mexico, and still more things to come, of course, next week.
Yeah, it was a good race overall. I think we saw a lot more fighting than what we normally see in the D1 lobby. Normally you do just watch a train, so it was refreshing to see actual fights happening. I think Brendan impressed a lot. I know what happened to him towards the end, but he impressed a lot. His pace was up there. It's been good to see him come from Division 4 now all the way up to fighting at the front and Division 1. And Walter as well, a good comeback from him. I think we saw an instant with him and he came back and managed to do well before he ran out of fuel, of course. And I have to point out, as he is my friend, Dylan getting lapped, absolutely atrocious. We'll see you in D3, my friend.
Yeah, hopefully Dylan, though, will pick things up, of course, no matter where drivers might be placed, of course. I'm sure the placements are going to be announced midweek. I'm pretty certain of that. But what I'm also pretty certain of is the calendar. And we'll take a look now at the calendar because next week is where the real racing starts. Bahrain, the season opener for season number 8 at Sakhir International Circuit. Be there or be square, quite literally, as Bahrain is going to provide, of course, our season opener. Imola, round 2 of the championship coming a week after on the 6th of August. Then it's a double header in America for the first time in LOE history. It is Austin and Miami, 13th and the 20th of August, with Monza, the 27th, rounding off the Italian tour as well, and the Italian job potentially is a visits his home Grand Prix, Singapore, in round number 6, and that is the 3rd of September, with Britain on the 10th, France on the 17th, Australia on the 24th of September. Then we go into October, and it's Hungary, Azerbaijan, Belgium, and Austria rounding off before we have our only break week of the season. And that comes, of course, on Halloween week and on half-term week for most of the schools here in the UK as well. And then the final 4 races of the championship. Don't know who's bothered to put Spain, to be honest, on the calendar on the 5th of November there. On bonfire night as well. Maybe there's going to be a few fireworks in Spain. Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and then our now traditional season finale in Abu Dhabi. Are we going to get to see, of course, the Campbell and Justas battle that we saw in Division 1 last season? Who knows? But Nolan, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate along with you this season. Just final thoughts there on the calendar. Bahrain next week, what do the drivers look forward to?
Bahrain next week, look forward to running ABS and having pad traction because I'll be enjoying it. You wheel users probably still going to dominate because pay to win. But if you run ABS, you're in for a good time. If you don't run ABS, enjoy turn 10. That's all I can say about Bahrain, really.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, to be honest, in terms of the actual on-track action. And of course, Bahrain last season, I'm just going to quickly get up the website, if I can, to tell you the results of last season in League of Europe in Bahrain, and I'm just getting them up now, so give me a second. The calendar, by the way, is still going around on loop in the background. Of course, Justas won the title. Campbell there in second last season. Bahrain last season, it was one Relentless Nathan that took the championship. Of course, not part of Relentless anymore. He's going to be under his new account, of course, for the new season. Second place was Neo, which was interesting, and Justas, the champion, finished in third. So if that's anything to go by, we might see a mixed-up field in terms of that. And of course, Bahrain will always go down in Season 6 because Montana spun under the safety car. Hopefully he doesn't do that next week in Bahrain as well. Final thoughts, though, Nolan. Brilliant race, and next season, of course, starts next week.
Yeah, next season starts next week. We've got 2 more evaluation races to show now on the channel. We're going to have Division 2, which I'll be racing in, and I think Division 4, I believe, is also going to be on. So that'll be interesting to see. I think Division 4 is going to be a really interesting one because obviously we've gone from 5 divisions, so there might be more of a pace change there because we're going to have nearly half of Division 4 and Division 5 racing in the same lobby this week. So that should be fun to see. I think Division 4 could actually be a really interesting race this week.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting indeed. And if anybody does want to see a Nolan Bottle in Division 2, you can go and tune in for that as well.
I'm winning. I'm D1 pace. I'm winning. I'm winning.
10 past 8 UK, 10 past 8 UK time if you do want to tune in for that. So that is 18 minutes from now if you do want to tune in for the action in Division 2 and Division 4. And you never know, Nolan might win, Nolan might lose, Nolan might bottle. Who knows what's going to happen. But that, I think, is that for tonight. Big thank you, of course, to Nolan for joining me in the commentary box. His first time using Discord, I've got to say, as well, for commentary, and hopefully it all went well. We only lost 0.3% of dropped frames on the stream, so that, I think, is a relatively good success. And, of course, we will see you next week for the start of season number 8. And, of course, it's going to be all live on League of Europe. You can, of course, look at the website, f1leagueofeurope.com, and at League of Europe on Twitter if you do want to follow the league, at ttg_head if you want to follow my Twitter, and at Relentless Nolan if you want to follow Nolan as well on Twitter. And that pretty much rounds off the stream tonight. Thank you so much for watching, and until next week in